Did you know the average car owner spends over $3,000 on cold start engine damage repairs? And here's the kicker. Up to 80% of these repairs are 100% preventable. Mechanics won't tell you this because they profit every time you make these mistakes. But today, I'm exposing the cold start secrets that could save you thousands in engine repairs. Stick around, because at the end, I'll share crucial techniques that can extend your engine's life and keep money in your pocket. Before we dive into these 8 cold start mistakes you're probably making every single morning, you need to understand what actually happens inside your engine during a cold start. And trust me, this is not what most people think. Your cold engine is a disaster waiting to happen. Think of your engine like a pro athlete. Would you expect an athlete to run a marathon without warming up? Of course not. Your engine works the same way, but here's where things get ugly. When your car sits overnight in cold weather, 4 major problems happen the moment you turn the key. Your engine oil becomes thick like honey. Cold oil moves 10 times slower than normal. This means parts of your engine are running completely dry for the first few seconds. No lubrication equals metal grinding on metal. Your battery becomes weak. In freezing temperatures, your battery loses half its power and your starter motor has to work twice as hard. Ever wonder why your car struggles to start on cold mornings? This is why. Your fuel doesn't atomize properly. Cold weather makes fuel spray like water droplets instead of a fine mist. This causes rough idling, misfires, and poor combustion. Your metal engine parts shrink. Yes, metal actually shrinks in cold weather. When you start your car, pistons, bearings, and cylinder walls are grinding against each other before they expand to their proper size. And here's something most people don't know. Your catalytic converter, that expensive part in your exhaust, doesn't even work during a cold start. That means every time you start your car cold, unburned fuel is damaging your catalytic converter, which costs between $800 to $3,000 to replace. Now that you know what's actually happening inside your engine, let's talk about the mistakes that could be destroying your car every winter. Mistake number 1, revving your engine right after starting. I see people do this all the time. They turn the key, hear the engine roar, and immediately rev it. Stop. Remember how metal shrinks in the cold? When you rev a cold engine, the parts haven't expanded yet. You're literally making them slam into each other before the oil has a chance to lubricate anything. Ever heard a clicking or tapping noise right after a cold start? That's called piston slap, and it's your engine screaming for help. You wouldn't sprint the second you wake up, so don't make your car do it either. Instead, start your car, wait 30-60 seconds, then drive gently. Mistake number 2, letting your car idle for too long. This might be the most controversial mistake on the list because everyone does it. You might think letting your car idle warms it up faster, but that's a huge myth. Here's why. Your engine burns extra fuel at idle, creating carbon buildup that clogs pistons, intake valves, and spark plugs. Some unburned fuel seeps past the piston rings and contaminates your oil, making it less effective at lubricating your engine. Diesel owners, pay attention. Excessive idling can damage your cylinder walls and cause fuel injector failure. Here's what you should do instead. Start your car, wait 30 to 60 seconds for the oil to circulate, then drive gently. Keep the revs under 3,000 RPM for the first few minutes. If it's freezing, use a block heater to warm up the engine before you start it. Idling too long does more harm than good, so stop doing it. But even if you warm up your car the right way, if you're using the wrong oil, you're still setting yourself up for disaster. Mistake number 3, too many short trips. This is an engine killer. If you're constantly making short trips, less than 10 to 15 minutes, you're leaving moisture trapped inside your engine. Here's what happens. When you drive, your engine naturally produces water vapor as a byproduct of combustion. In a fully warmed up engine, this moisture gets vaporized and exits through the exhaust. But if your engine never reaches its full operating temperature, that moisture stays trapped in your oil, crankcase, and exhaust system. And here's the really bad news. When moisture mixes with combustion byproducts, it creates acidic sludge that eats away at your engine's internals. This is why cars that only make short trips often suffer from premature engine failure. The fix? Make sure you drive long enough for your engine to fully warm up, at least 15 to 20 minutes, so it can burn off that excess moisture. But even if you're driving long enough, if you're using the wrong oil, you're still causing major damage. Mistake number 4, using the wrong oil viscosity. This one destroys engines over time, and most people don't even realize it. In cold weather, using oil that's too thick is like trying to pour maple syrup through a straw. What happens? Thick oil doesn't flow properly at startup. Some engine parts go unlubricated, leading to metal-on-metal grinding. Your fuel economy gets worse because your engine is working harder to move thick, sluggish oil. Turbocharged engines suffer the most. Cold, thick oil means poor lubrication, which leads to turbo failure. The fix: always check your owner's manual for the right winter oil. In freezing temperatures, 5W30 or 0W20 will flow much better than 10W040 or 20W50. Speaking of turbocharged engines, let's talk about a massive mistake that's costing people thousands in turbo replacements. Mistake number 5: shutting off your car too soon after driving. If you drive a turbocharged car, listen up, because this mistake will kill your turbo. Your turbo spins at 200,000 RPM and reaches over 1,000 degrees F. The only thing keeping it alive? A constant flow of fresh oil. Here's what happens if you shut your engine off immediately after driving. The oil stops flowing instantly. The turbo is still spinning and burning up whatever oil is left. This cooked oil turns into carbon deposits, which act like sandpaper, grinding down your turbo's bearings and shaft. The fix? After highway driving or aggressive acceleration, let your car idle for 30 to 60 seconds before shutting it off. This allows fresh oil to cool and lubricate the turbo, preventing premature wear and failure. But even if you warm up your turbo the right way, if you're cranking your heater to full blast, you're making another massive mistake. Mistake number 6: blasting your heater immediately after starting. This one even confuses some mechanics. Here's why cranking your heater at max the moment you start your car is a bad idea. Your heater works by pulling heat from your engine coolant. When you blast the heater immediately, you're stealing heat before the engine can warm up properly. This delays your engine's warm-up time, keeping it in the dangerous cold start phase for longer than necessary. The fix? For the first 5 minutes, keep the heater off or on low. Let your temperature gauge reach at least a quarter mark before turning it up. Mistake number 7: ignoring your tire pressure on cold mornings. Most drivers focus on their engine, battery, and fluids in the winter, but your tires play a huge role in cold starts too. Here's the problem: cold weather causes tire pressure to drop significantly. For every 10 degrees drop in temperature, your tire pressure decreases by about 1 to 2 psi. Why does this matter? Underinflated tires increase rolling resistance, forcing your engine to work harder to move the car. This leads to higher fuel consumption and unnecessary strain on your engine, exactly what you don't need during a cold start. Low tire pressure also reduces traction, which is dangerous in winter conditions. You're more likely to slide, skid, or struggle to brake on icy roads. The fix? Check your tire pressure at least once a week during the winter. Keep it at the manufacturer's recommended PSI, which you can find inside your driver's door or in your owner's manual. If you really want to protect your tires and fuel efficiency, consider switching to winter tires. They maintain better grip and flexibility in freezing temperatures, giving your engine a much-needed break. Mistake number 8: running your fuel tank too low in cold weather. Here's a cold weather mistake that can leave you stranded or with a costly repair bill. Running your fuel tank too low in freezing temperatures can cause serious problems. Here's why. Condensation builds up in your fuel tank when it's nearly empty. That moisture can freeze, clogging fuel lines and making your car impossible to start. Low fuel means your fuel pump works harder, leading to premature wear and possible failure. This is a $500 to $1,000 repair you do not want to deal with. If you get stuck in traffic or a snowstorm, a low fuel tank means you have less time to keep your heater running. A dangerous situation in extreme cold. The fix? Keep your fuel tank at least half full during winter months to prevent fuel line freezing and fuel pump strain. This small habit can save you from unnecessary breakdowns, fuel system damage, and freezing inside your car. How to start your car properly in cold weather. Now that you know what not to do, here's the right way to start your car in freezing temperatures. Turn the key and wait 30 to 60 seconds to let the oil circulate. Drive gently for the first 5 to 10 minutes. Keep revs under 20,500 RPM. If temperatures drop below 38 degrees F, use a block heater to pre-warm your engine. Never rev your engine right after starting. It's a death sentence for cold metal parts. Let turbocharged engines idle for 30-60 seconds before shutting off after a drive. Bonus tip: keep your fuel tank at least half full. Cold weather creates condensation inside your fuel tank. A near-empty tank allows moisture to collect, which can freeze fuel lines, rust components, and clog injectors. Keeping your tank at least half full prevents moisture buildup and keeps your fuel system running smoothly. Avoiding these 8 cold start mistakes will save you thousands in repairs and keep your engine running strong for years. Which of these mistakes have you been guilty of? Be honest. Drop a comment below.